Thank you all for coming. Today, the Utah Jazz has accepted the resignation of Jerry Sloan as head basketball coach and Phil Johnson as the first assistant.
It's a little bit tougher than I thought it'd be. But I'd like to say thanks to a lot of people.
It's an experience that not many people have because we've been here for such a long time.
But today's a new day. I get this over with. I know I'm going to feel much better. My time is up, and it's time for me to move on.
I came with him, and I'll leave with him.
The new head coach, Jerry Sloan. He gets a rousing ovation. Jerry Sloan showing an encouragement to his team.
When you think of Salt Lake City, you think Jerry Sloan.
Here's a guy that's given his all as far as coaching any team in the NBA. He's had great success. His credentials speak for themselves.
Jerry Sloan wins number 1,000.
I think anybody could have won with the players that they have here. There wasn't any question about that. I think it's a situation where I've been at the right place at the right time as far as having a chance to win games.
One of the pillars of the league and one of the pillars in this city for so many years.
The people in this community, they just love this man, and they said that he is the heart and soul of this franchise.
And now, the Chicago Bulls starting lineup.
People forget that before Jordan, there was Jerry Sloan.
And at guard, number 4 from Evansville is 7th year, Jerry Sloan.
And he was the original Bull.
And Sloan will shoot. Sloan's shot is good. Swanda Manning across the lane from the right, gives out to Sloan, 13 feet, good!
I grew up in the suburb of Chicago watching Jerry play for the Bulls, and I knew how tough he was, and I know he coached that way.
I've always tried to play hard every time I get an opportunity to play, and you just try to do the best job you can, regardless of what happens.
Lewis double team, and the ball knocked away. Sloan goes after to get it. Sloan, top of the key, puts on the break, shoveled it.
His number, hangs at the old Chicago Stadium and then moved over to the United Center. What a compliment.
Jerry Sloan, an assistant coach.
Jerry Sloan, possibly the most popular player ever to play for the Chicago Bulls.
I was in Kansas City as a head coach. When I had been fired in Kansas City, Frank had been named as general manager. He flew to Kansas City to interview me. He ended up giving the job to Tom Nasalki.
Tom Nasalki, as you can see, very upset with that.
I ended up going back and Jerry's assistant in Chicago. We both got fired, and so Frank hired me here. Coming here, the teams, they weren't drawing very well. Didn't have a very good team. The interest in them wasn't great. I was here when we started to win games. We had added Thurl Bailey.
When I find out a lot of the history of not winning before I got there, part of me is thinking, well, I'm going to help. I'm going to change that. Okay, I know you told me we haven't won a lot, but maybe this year will be different.
I see us playing very, very well. We're just going to be a totally different team.
And we ended up winning our division.
That year really is what started the winning foundation of this franchise.
That was the upsurge of the Jazz in Utah.
Now we've played very good. Very good. We're going to play better. All right, now defense, we got to earn it. Come on, we got to earn it.
Frank, I think, just came to the point where he just decided that he didn't want to do it anymore. Bottom line. His team was doing okay. But he felt like Jerry could step in and help the franchise.
At the beginning of this year, Frank Layden wanted to make this his last season as head coach of the Utah Jazz.
And with that, the Frank Layden era ends.
Frank has stuck with his decision to step aside as the coach of the Jazz.
A lot of people just give him credit for being funny.
Frank Layden, well, you know, he's not going to run away from this.
But he was a very, very good coach, and I learned a lot by coaching with him.
You know, this was a time when I could get out when we were on top. It's a time when I could get out feeling good about what we've achieved here.
Well, it's a total surprise. I thought he was fairly happy with the job he had.
We think Frank is a better part of the team, so we don't like to hear that news.
First of all, we're going to lose coach. Then what happens? Then we're going to get Miss Coach Sloan. He's crazy.
Boy, Jerry Sloan is hot.
Jerry was a very intense player and a very intense coach. But he was not unreasonable with players. But everybody has different personalities and a way of handling things. And so I had to adjust to Jerry, but I had already been Jerry's assistant in Chicago, so it was a very easy transition.
The coaching duties now belong to Jerry Sloan, a longtime assistant under Layden and a former player and head coach of the Chicago Bulls.
He was very good to me when I came here and gave me a job, and I think we've become very close, and we've gotten along very well together, and that's the sad part about it, but obviously life goes on, and I'm in the position now that he had, and I'm looking forward to it, and I'm excited about it, and hopefully I can keep the team going the way Frank started off with them and got them going in the right direction. Hopefully I can carry that on through.
Frank took him to a certain level, and then he handed things over to Jerry Sloan, and then things elevated.
The Jerry Sloan era begins tonight.
Answers to the left base, left, go underneath, shovel down the middle of Malone, slam dunk, knocked down the middle. He's got the mailman on the trailer, but he goes under the bailey. What a play! Thorough slam dunks at home. Stockton for a three-pointer left side. Yes, Stockton run 3-on-2. Left side of the mailman. He's there. There's a hammer. Forward to the middle, right side of Big T. Go to the hoop and slam it home. The Utah Jazz, one of the hottest teams in the NBA. Stockton to the base left, drive in, they foul him, shot up, it's good. Did they count it? Yes, a three-pointer.
The Jazz are showing that they belong at the top of the Midwest Division.
Stockton looking at Malone, he's got it. Power play, slam dunk, a mailman.
Less to hands.
We have to go out and just keep playing good ball, try to play nice and solid basketball going into the playoffs and have a lot of momentum into the playoffs.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Western Conference first round NBA playoffs. The best 3 out of 5, and it's the Utah Jazz, the Midwest Division champions, against the Golden State Warriors, seeded 7th in the playoffs. Their record 43-39.
Our first year, when I came back with Jerry, we were at the hotel getting ready for the game, and a lot of pressure was on Jerry that we got to win this series and so forth.
And Utah a heavy favorite to beat this team, and a lot of people think maybe 3 in a row, maybe 3 out of 4.
Larry called me in my room and said, I can't get a hold of Jerry. He says, well, I want you guys to know you're our coaches. So please tell Jerry that I can't get a hold of him. Now that's our owner. Plus, we had the backing of our players.
Richmond, nice dish to Higgins, and Higgins got the basket through the foul.
And all the Utah Jazz players can do is watch time tick away on a season that they felt would maybe be their year.
The Warriors only needed 3 to take out the Utah Jazz.
We got swept by Golden State in the playoffs. But Larry Miller stayed with us. Those guys backed us. You're talking about John and Carl and Mark Eaton. If you don't have the backing of the players, you're not going to make it. That's the backing that we had. My role is just as an assistant coach. I was responsible for a lot of the offensive procedures, and he was responsible for the defense.
Fight him out of there. Get your body on him. Don't let him go where he wants to go.
I was never afraid to interject myself into practices and tell him what was going on, and he realized that us working together would help the team.
Phil's a great X's and O's man, and quite a few of the offenses that we run now were brought in by Phil when he was here, 5 or 6 years ago.
And he was a very important part of us winning the Midwest Division title. And he's back with the squad, reunited with Jerry, and I only see good things happening.
I'm one of the few coaches in basketball that has a assistant coach that's been the coach of the year in this league, so his knowledge is probably far and above mine as far as the game is concerned. So I rely on those people. I don't think I have all the answers, and we just leave it at that.
Phil is a great offensive coach, maybe one of the best in the game at charting and running offenses. And of course, Jerry Sloan, we think, is the best defensive coach in the league. So we ought to have a pretty good 1-2 punch here.
Jerry and I basically came up with the same background, mine in Grace, Idaho, and his in McLeansville, Illinois.
When we'd see a road grader, the guy with the road grader, we'd try to stop him, get him road grader, come out here and take the grass off so it'd be slick, so we could play basketball out here. That's where we started playing basketball.
I met Jerry Sloan in Kansas City, and of course I knew of Jerry Sloan. I knew he was a man to be reckoned with, and the handshake that he delivered that day reminded me of what everything somebody had said about him was true. I mean, it was a grip, it was the eyes right to eyes, and I knew I was shaking a man's hand. He's a down-to-earth, bare feet in the soil type guy. Everything he did in life, he did just by working.
Quite honestly, I was a little fearful of Jerry Sloan. He wasn't afraid to get on you, and it wouldn't matter if it was me, John, or Carl.
You know, he told me a couple times he'll fight me, and you might kick but I'm gonna fight you as long as I can see. That's what, Coach, you ain't gonna see me long, because I'm gonna hit you in your eyes first thing. But anyway, Coach Sloan was like that.
He would adjust his approach to the individual players, but he would get in guys' face some. I think he probably got after Greg Ostertag more than any of the other players that he ever coached, because he saw so much talent there and wasn't getting it out of him.
You know, Jerry was constantly on me. Looking back now, it's just, I deserved it. He was just trying to make me better, and I fought it and fought it and fought it. And again, that's one of those regrets that I have. Instead of using Jerry on me all the time as motivation, I used it as a tool to fight and rebel against it all. Jerry was, he just wanted me to be better.
Jerry was a no-nonsense guy who has talked about bringing the lunch pail to work, man.
He maybe loved the game more than anybody I knew. He had more respect for the NBA, more respect for the officials, more respect for how the game was supposed to be played than maybe anybody I knew. Now, nobody would agree with me on that doesn't know him. They would say he was hard on officials. Yeah, he was. He was very hard on officials. He was the same with us as players. He was demanding, but he wasn't unreasonable demanding. He demanded the best out of you and wouldn't tolerate less than that, but he had your back also. As long as you were willing to give that, he'd give everything he had, and he did.
The fans are pumped for Game 6 here at the Summit. Here are the starting lineups, familiar names and numbers by now.
We had been knocking on the door for so many years. We kept meeting some very, very good teams in the West.
Winning in the West is a bear. People don't understand how difficult the West was at the time. You always had the Lakers. The Mavericks were tremendous. San Antonio was tremendous. Portland Trailblazers, tremendous. Seattle. I mean, I think all these teams, Phoenix had a tremendous run when Charles was there. Tremendous, tremendous teams. So you just finish one in a series, and then you get to step right into the fire with the next one. And when you get out of that, that's quite an accomplishment. So here we are. We've gotten there again. I think that's Game 6.
It's a game of the ages, so we get down to the wire. I hit a couple threes and cut it down.
Brian Russell for three, got it! 98-94 Rockets.
Here we are. I want to say we tied up. Call it timeout, come to the huddle. Sloan draws up the play.
It doesn't have a name, it's just side out. There's 50 different ways you can run it based on how the defense plays it.
Who's going to guard Karl Malone?
I was the inbound. Option one was Stockton.
I remembered my only thought was just finish the shot.
Stockton, open three, hit it! John Stockton sends the Utah Jazz to the NBA Finals.
I must have jumped so high, I probably was about this high off the ground. I've never seen Jerry Sloan that happy.
The emotions that exploded on that floor that night in Houston had never been seen. The culmination of the work and the doubters and the Utah Jazz can't beat the likes of the Lakers or the Spurs, knocking out Barkley and the Houston Rockets, but it came to fruition and the city and the region just exploded with excitement.
Coach, was that just how you diagrammed it there?
Well, John made the shot. Everything looks good whenever they make the shot. It doesn't make any difference what you run.
Now you get the opportunity to go back against them. Your thoughts on playing the Bulls in the finals?
Well, I haven't given much thought to that. I never thought we'd ever get there, but you know, it's been a long road to get back to that situation. But I've been fortunate. I've got great guys that work with us, and the coaching staff and our players have been great to work with.
Jerry, congratulations. We'll see you Sunday.
Thank you very much, Jim.
And when we did get there, we had to end up meeting a pretty good player by the name of Michael Jordan, and they had a very good team around him. And we gave him a good run, but it was just an outstanding experience. I still remember not winning because it was very difficult for us, and we did it 2 years in a row. But this is the thing I have to say about that team. Very few teams lose in the finals and have gathered themselves together and come back the second year and get to the finals.
These guys showed a great deal of heart as to who they were all year long to come back and compete and put themselves in this position.
I don't know how many times that's happened in the history of the NBA, but it shows you what our team was made of. And so that's the thing I draw on most. Once the Stockton-Malone era finished, we knew we had some rebuilding to do. Kevin O'Connor was our general manager at the time, and I felt like he did an excellent job of getting us some players that we could compete with. We ended up with Carlos Boozer.
Left hand, and boy, was that a statement.
We ended up drafting Darren Williams, and we ended up having a good playoff team and going to the Western Conference Finals. And so that's quite a turnaround to go through during that time, to go after the Stockton and Malone era.
This is a new era. This is a new type of player. And Jerry was trying to make that adjustment, very difficult one for him. I think in the early days, he did a pretty good job. But as time went on, he got worn down. He didn't feel like he was coaching the way that he wanted to coach. Jerry decided that time had passed. He felt at that time it was over. And it was a shocker.
My time is up, and it's time for me to move on.
I was surprised when Coach Sloan retired. I didn't think there'd be anything Coach wouldn't finish.
Are you going out the way you want?
Yeah, I couldn't have gone out any better. I've had great support from the front office, Kevin and all those people, the Miller family. They've been terrific. And obviously, all the people in the city have been tremendous supporters, you know, and stuck behind us with the Jazz. And I've been blessed to be in a situation as long as I have, and I can't ask for any more.
That sent some shockwaves through this city, this region, and the NBA. Because for Jerry Sloan to not be with the Jazz was almost unthinkable.
When he quit, his right-hand man, Phil Johnson, went right with him.
I feel like I'm doing the right thing. And the only way you approach any of this stuff is that you do what you feel like in your heart. And that's how I feel. And when Jerry said he was going to resign, I said, I'm going with you. And I felt good about it. And we hadn't even talked about it, as a matter of fact.
I stand by my decision. I was ready to retire.
Phil was his wingman for everything. It wasn't surprising when Jerry decided to call it a day that Phil went with him. That's just the way those two work.
We've been through a lot of things, good and the bad, and went through a lot of tough times. We got fired together in Chicago. He coached me when I played in Chicago. First guy I tried to hire.
We just communicated on a great level and trusted each other and were loyal to each other, and just missed being around, being able to call him and talk to him and see what's going on.
He deserves every bit of recognition he gets.
Coach Sloan, he was a mastermind.
He was a great coach. He was a good guy.
This man is everything good about basketball. He's about integrity. He's about class. He's about giving your best effort every single night.
You know, I just always remember playing against your Utah Jazz teams. It felt like I was about to go into math class. I always got a headache because you had to be well prepared, well thought out, and you had to figure out those algorithms. So congratulations on your award, without question.
I'll always be grateful for my experiences with him as a man, as well as our coach.
Jerry, we congratulate you, and we honor you because you were so great to work with. On a personal note, thanks for taking me on the journey with you.
I want to thank you all, and I appreciate this day. It's been a great day for me, although we tried to get away from it. The Miller family kept me in there, and I'm proud that they did. Thank you very much.
The head coach, Jerry Sloan, and his assistant, Phil Johnson.
These two guys, when you think of one, you think of the other. They were attached at the hip. They were a great team.
Those two guys have been together for a long time. Jerry Sloan with over 1,200 wins because of that.
Our friendship has just grown over the years, and the reason that we get along so well, I think, is our personalities mesh. We're not the same, that's for sure. But the one thing that we've always been is we've been very honest with one another, whether it's coaching or whatever thing we've talked about. We're best friends for a long, long time.